In the heart of a bustling Washington, D.C., conference hall, the air was thick with anticipation as political heavyweights gathered for what was billed as the debate of the year. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, with Karoline Leavitt, a rising star in political communications, facing off against Kash Patel, a seasoned national security expert and a polarizing figure in American politics. The crowd, a mix of journalists, policymakers, and engaged citizens, buzzed with excitement, their smartphones ready to capture every moment of this high-stakes showdown. The topic was the future of American leadership, but no one could have predicted the firestorm that was about to erupt. As the debate began, Leavitt, known for her sharp wit and unapologetic style, took the podium with confidence, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. She spoke passionately about her vision for a unified America, emphasizing traditional values and a strong national identity. Her words resonated with many, but there was an undercurrent of tension as she pivoted to address her opponent directly. Patel, calm and composed, stood ready, his years of experience in high-pressure environments evident in his steady gaze. The audience leaned forward, sensing the debate was about to take a dramatic turn. Leavitt, in a moment that would soon dominate headlines, pointed at Patel and, with a tone laced with frustration, uttered the words that would ignite a national conversation. "Why don't you go back to India and fix things there before you try to tell us how to run our country?" The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that seemed to suck the oxygen from the room. The comment, raw and unfiltered, hung in the air like a storm cloud, its implications rippling through the audience and beyond. For a moment, time seemed to freeze as all eyes turned to Patel, waiting for his response. Would he lash out? Would he retreat? The weight of the moment was palpable, and the nation, watching live on screens across the country, held its breath. Patel, however, did not flinch. His expression remained steady, his eyes locked on Leavitt's, as if he had anticipated this very moment. He stepped forward, microphone in hand, and began to speak, his voice calm but resolute, carrying the weight of a man who had faced countless challenges in his career. "I was born in New York," he began, his words deliberate and measured. "My parents came to this country with nothing but a dream, and they built a life here through hard work and sacrifice. I've served this nation in ways you may never understand, in rooms you'll never enter, protecting the very freedoms that allow you to stand here and say what you just did." The crowd erupted in applause, but Patel raised a hand, signaling he wasn't finished. He spoke of his journey, from a first-generation American to a key figure in national security, weaving a narrative that was both personal and universal. He didn't just defend himself, he challenged the very premise of Leavitt's words, questioning what it means to be American in a nation built on diversity. His response was not just a rebuttal but a masterclass in composure, turning a moment of division into a powerful call for unity. The audience, initially stunned by Leavitt's remark, now hung on Patel's every word, their cheers growing louder with each sentence. Social media exploded, with hashtags like #KashPatel response and #American Dream trending within minutes. Across the country, people from all walks of life began sharing their own stories of identity and belonging, inspired by Patel's refusal to be defined by a single, reductive comment. Leavitt, visibly shaken, attempted to regain her footing, but the momentum had shifted. The debate continued, but the moment had already been defined. Patel's words resonated not because they were loud or aggressive, but because they were authentic, grounded in a truth that transcended the stage. As the event drew to a close, the audience rose to their feet, not just for Patel, but for the idea that America's strength lies in its ability to embrace its differences. The exchange, now a viral sensation, sparked a broader conversation about the role of identity in politics, the power of words, and the responsibility of those who wield them. For days, news outlets dissected the moment, with pundits on every side weighing in. Some criticized Leavitt for what they called a reckless and divisive remark, while others argued she was simply voicing the frustrations of a segment of the population. Patel, meanwhile, became a symbol of resilience, his response a beacon for those who felt marginalized or misunderstood. The debate hall, once a battleground, had become a stage for something bigger, a reminder that words can wound, but they can also heal. depending on how they're used. As the dust settled from that explosive moment in the Washington debate, the nation found itself grappling with the fallout. Karoline Leavitt's comment, "Go back to India," had not only shocked the audience but had ignited a firestorm of reactions across the political spectrum. Cable news networks replayed the clip endlessly, with analysts debating whether Leavitt's words were a calculated jab or a heat-of-the-moment misstep. On one channel, a conservative commentator defended her, arguing that she was expressing a frustration felt by many who questioned the loyalty of those with immigrant roots. On another, a progressive panelist called the remark a textbook example of xenophobia, pointing to its potential to inflame tensions in an already polarized country. Social media platforms, particularly X, became a battleground of their own, with millions of users weighing in. Some posted memes mocking Leavitt's delivery, while others shared heartfelt stories of their own experiences with prejudice, echoing Patel's message of resilience. The hashtag #GoBackToIndia trended briefly, but it was quickly overtaken by #Kash Patel Strong, as supporters rallied around his dignified response. Patel, for his part, chose not to fan the flames. In a series of interviews following the debate, he reiterated his commitment to serving America, emphasizing that his focus was on policy, not personal attacks. "I'm here to talk about keeping this country safe," he said on a morning talk show, his tone as steady as it had been on stage. "I don't have time for distractions." Yet the distraction was impossible to ignore. The incident had tapped into a deeper vein of national discourse, one that went beyond the personalities involved. It raised questions about who gets to define American and whether such a definition even matters in a nation as diverse as the United States. Patel's response, with its blend of personal anecdote and broader vision, resonated because it spoke to a universal truth, that identity is complex, and belonging is not a zero-sum game. His words reminded people of the sacrifices made by immigrants and their children, who often navigate a delicate balance between heritage and assimilation. Meanwhile, Leavitt faced mounting pressure to address her comment. In a hastily arranged press conference, she doubled down, framing her words as a critique of Patel's policy positions rather than his ethnicity. "I was speaking to his priorities, not his background," she insisted, though her explanation was met with skepticism. Critics pointed out that her choice of words carried a weight that couldn't be easily dismissed, evoking a long history of go-back rhetoric aimed at minorities. Supporters, however, argued that she was being unfairly vilified, caught in the crosshairs of a hypersensitive culture that polices speech too aggressively. The controversy became a Rorschach test, with each side seeing what they wanted to see. For some, it was a clear case of prejudice. For others, it was a symptom of a broader frustration with political correctness. Beyond the immediate back and forth, the incident sparked a wave of introspection. Community leaders, from pastors to activists, used the moment to hold town halls and forums, discussing how to bridge divides in a country where identity politics often dominate. Schools reported an uptick in discussions about diversity, with teachers using the debate as a case study in civics classes. Patel's response, in particular, became a teaching tool, with educators praising its balance of strength and restraint. "This is how you respond to hate," one high school teacher tweeted, sharing a clip of Patel's speech with her students. The moment also had ripple effects in the political world. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle were forced to weigh in, with some calling for apologies and others urging a focus on substantive issues. Patel's allies in Congress rallied around him, with several prominent figures praising his leadership and qualifications. Even those who disagreed with his politics found it hard to deny the power of his response. Leavitt, meanwhile, saw her star power dim slightly, as some within her own party distanced themselves from the controversy. Yet she remained defiant, using her platform to argue that the real issue was being lost in the noise, the need for a strong, unified approach to national challenges. The debate over her words showed no signs of slowing, as op-eds and think pieces flooded newspapers and websites, each offering a new angle on what had transpired. For many Americans, the incident was a mirror, reflecting their own experiences with identity, prejudice, and the search for belonging in a nation that often struggles to live up to its ideals. The viral exchange between Karoline Leavitt and Kash Patel didn't just dominate headlines, it reshaped the national conversation in ways few could have predicted. Within days, the moment had transcended politics, becoming a cultural touchstone that sparked discussions in living rooms, workplaces, and classrooms across the country. Patel's response, with its calm defiance and eloquent defense of the American dream, was quoted in sermons, shared in group chats, and even printed on t-shirts sold by enterprising online vendors. "I was born in New York" became a rallying cry for those who felt their Americanness questioned, whether because of their accent, their skin color, or their heritage. The phrase captured a sentiment that resonated far beyond the debate stage, tapping into a deep well of pride and frustration among first- and second-generation Americans. Patel's ability to turn a personal attack into a universal message of unity was hailed as a masterstroke, earning him praise from unexpected quarters. Even critics who had previously questioned his hardline national security stances found themselves nodding in approval at his grace under pressure. The incident also highlighted the power of media in amplifying such moments. Clips of the exchange racked up millions of views on platforms like YouTube and TikTok, with creators adding their own commentary, from comedic dubs to serious analyses. One viral video juxtaposed Leavitt's comment with Patel's response, set to dramatic music, garnering over 10 million views in a single weekend. The mainstream media, meanwhile, faced its own reckoning. Some outlets were accused of sensationalizing the incident to drive clicks, while others were criticized for downplaying Leavitt's words to avoid alienating their audiences. The debate over how to cover such moments underscored the media's role in shaping public perception, for better or worse. For Patel, the moment was both a challenge and an opportunity. He could have chosen to milk the controversy for personal gain, but instead, he pivoted back to his work, focusing on issues like national security and government reform. In a speech at a think tank a week later, he spoke about the need for leaders to rise above personal attacks and focus on solutions. "America is bigger than one comment, one debate, or one person," he said, earning a standing ovation. His restraint only amplified his stature, positioning him as a figure who could bridge divides rather than widen them. Leavitt, on the other hand, found herself navigating a more treacherous path. Her initial refusal to apologize drew ire from advocacy groups, who launched campaigns urging her to retract her statement. A petition calling for her to step down as a prominent political voice gained thousands of signatures, though it ultimately had little impact on her role. In private, sources close to Leavitt said she was rattled by the backlash, aware that her words had struck a nerve she hadn't fully anticipated. Yet publicly, she leaned into her base, framing the controversy as an example of woke overreach. Her supporters organized rallies, with some holding signs reading, "Free speech, not censorship." The polarization was stark, with little room for nuance in a discourse that had become a shouting match. Beyond the immediate players, the incident prompted a broader reckoning with how America talks about identity. Scholars and activists pointed to the long history of go-back rhetoric, from the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II to the anti-immigrant sentiment of the early 21st century. The phrase, they argued, was never just about geography. It was a coded way of questioning someone's right to belong. Patel's response, by contrast, was seen as a rejection of that exclusionary mindset, a reminder that America's strength lies in its ability to integrate diverse voices. Community organizations seized the moment to launch initiatives promoting cultural understanding, from interfaith dialogues to storytelling events where immigrants shared their journeys. In cities like New York and Los Angeles, murals began appearing, depicting Patel's words alongside images of diverse Americans, from farmers to tech entrepreneurs. The cultural impact was undeniable, but so was the political cost. For Leavitt, the incident became a defining moment, one that would follow her for the rest of her career. For Patel, it was a chance to redefine his public image, not as a polarizing figure but as a unifying one. The nation, caught in the crossfire, was left to wrestle with the question of what it means to be American in an era of division. Months after the debate that shook the nation, the reverberations of Karoline Leavitt's comment and Kash Patel's response continued to shape the political and cultural landscape. The incident had become a case study in how a single moment can spark a movement, challenge assumptions, and force a reckoning with uncomfortable truths. For Patel, the aftermath was a whirlwind of opportunities and challenges. He was invited to speak at universities, community centers, and even international forums, where he shared his vision for an America that embraces its diversity without losing sight of its shared values. His memoir, already in the works before the debate, became a bestseller, with readers drawn to his story of navigating identity and ambition in a complex world. Patel's response had not only diffused a tense moment but had also elevated him to a new level of influence, making him a sought-after voice on issues of national security, immigration, and leadership. His ability to stay focused on policy while addressing personal attacks earned him respect across the political spectrum, though he remained a lightning rod for critics who disagreed with his views. Leavitt, meanwhile, faced a more complicated path. The controversy had tarnished her reputation in some circles,